Today I'm going to be making grilled marinated flank steak with chimichurri sauce. So the first thing we're going to do is make the marinade for the flank steak, and then the flank steak's going to sit in the fridge until tomorrow, at which point it will be ready for grilling. Some people prefer to just marinate for 4 to 6 hours, maybe up to 8, but I like to do a really long marinade when I am preparing meat. So let's get started. All right, for ingredients, we have a 1/4 cup of avocado oil, a 1/4 cup of whiskey, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce, a 1/4 cup of honey, 3 cloves of garlic, salt, and pepper. Doesn't have to be cut up perfect or anything, it just needs to be cut up enough so that enough of the flesh is exposed so that the garlic flavor permeates the marinade. So you take all those ingredients, chop up the garlic, and put it all into a bowl. And then you want to take your flank steak and put it in the bottom of a large glass baking pan, and then cover it with the liquid, wrap it in a plastic wrap, and then put it in the refrigerator. Just throw that in there. And as far as the salt and pepper goes, at your own discretion. Keep in mind that there is Worcestershire sauce in here and there's soy sauce, so there is a bit of salt already. And then fresh ground pepper, always fresh ground pepper. Try to get that honey that has sunk to the bottom to get friendly with all the other ingredients. One thing that's important to know about flank steak is that it's a very, very tough cut of meat unless you marinate it. And so when you marinate it, the acids in the marinade break down the fibers of the meat and creates a much more tender, much more palatable meat. So that's the reason for the marinade on today's flank steak. So we have 1 pound, 12 ounces of flank steak. This is a fairly inexpensive cut of meat. It should be marinated before you cook it, and then when you slice it, it should be cut against the grain. I will mention that again later. It is very important because if you don't cut against the grain, it will be very, very tough. So just before we start marinating it, just score it. I'm going to score both sides just a bit, just to give that marinade a chance. Take a glass pan. I always like to put a little of the marinade in the bottom. Throw it in there and cover it. Now, however long you decide that you are going to marinate this, make sure to turn it halfway through so that both sides get an equal amount of chance to bathe in that delicious marinade. Make sure to cover that before you put it in the fridge. One of the things I really like about this recipe is it is super simple. As you can see, that's all the ingredients. It marinates for however long you want it. You throw it on the grill. The chimichurri sauce is just about as easy. So that's what we're going to work on next, is the chimichurri sauce. And then that will sit in the fridge until tomorrow and have a really good time marrying all of those ingredients together. So let's get started with that. So for the chimichurri sauce, you're going to need about a cup of fresh parsley. Italian or curly is fine. I've got 2 kinds here. You'll also need half a cup of olive oil, 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar, green onions, some garlic, and some red Fresno red peppers. If you don't have Fresno red chili peppers in your area, you can also substitute about a teaspoon of crushed red pepper. That should work. So when it comes to chimichurri sauce, I generally don't measure anything. And oh, I forgot, there's also supposed to be oregano in this recipe, and I'm gonna have to go and pick it off of the porch where I am growing my oregano this year. I don't usually use measurements. I just sort of use the proportions that I like. So let's get started on those ingredients. This is very tedious work, so I'm not going to make you watch me dismantle this parsley. Ta-da! Just a quick note on chimichurri sauce. Chimichurri sauce is an uncooked sauce that is commonly used in meats in Argentina and Uruguay, and it is very tasty. It comes in a green and a red variety. Today we will be making the green variety. So then you just chop, 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 and you want to get this as fine as possible. Just remember, you're going to be eating it. It's a condiment, it's a sauce. You don't want to have giant pieces of parsley, because otherwise you'll have giant pieces of parsley in your teeth. So that was about a cup and a half of chopped parsley. You saw how much I had. I used very little of what was on the left side. I used very little of the Italian parsley, but I used all of the curly parsley. So that's what about a cup and a half of parsley looks like. Let's do some chopping. It should be noted that a typical chimichurri sauce does not necessarily include green onions, but I love green onions, so I'm adding them. You want to make sure when you're working with herbs that you remove as many of the big thick stems as possible, because those are unpleasant to eat. I also rinsed the herbs just because they came from a potted plant, and so there was some dirt involved. And then you just want to do the same thing with this as you did with the parsley. If you're doing this at home, do not run your fingers along the knife edge. I've been doing it for the better part of, 11 or 12 years, and I am very good at it. You will probably cut yourself. That is probably just about a quarter cup of oregano. Garlic. For this, you definitely want to make sure that the garlic is chopped as fine as possible. That's probably good enough. So the hottest part of a pepper is its seeds. So you probably want to take as many of those out as you can. Also, try to avoid touching them, because once you touch them and then you touch your eyes or your nose or any other mucous membrane, you'll never forget to not touch the seeds of a hot pepper ever again. I should not be doing this barehanded. I should be wearing a glove, but I am tired of wearing gloves. Fresh pepper, always fresh cracked or fresh ground pepper. A little salt. That was probably enough. Again, with the salt and the pepper, just use your judgment. You know your palate better than I do. And then you just pour in the oil and the red wine vinegar. Because I used a little bit more parsley than initially was planning on, I will just add some extra virgin olive oil, a little bit of more of it, so that's like, I don't know, 2 more tablespoons or so. And then just like the marinade, you want to cover this and just put it in the fridge, and you can use it on any number of things. You can use it on scrambled eggs, you can use it on any other sort of meat. It's actually a very, very tasty sauce or condiment. That's it for today. You just put that in the fridge. You can use it tomorrow when the flank steak comes off the grill. And then tomorrow while it's grilling, right before grilling, there's plenty of time to make sides, and perhaps I'll do that. We will see. But for now, I will see you tomorrow. Hey everybody, this is day 2, so we're going to remove the meat from the marinade and slap it on the grill. So let's get started on that. First things first, we're going to remove the flank steak from the marinade. You could pat it down if you want, but I'm just going to leave it as is. So one of the biggest challenges for me on the grill is that it feels impossible to actually regulate the heat, and it stays perpetually between about 500 and 600 degrees. I'm going to slap the meat on there probably about 4 minutes on each side, and then let the carryover cooking finish it off if need be. The nice thing about flank steak is that if you marinate it properly, it's really, really difficult to overcook it unless you just leave it on there for freaking ever. So let's get started on the grill. As you can see, the grill is at 600 degrees. One word about my grill, it's very embarrassing. I do not take as good care of it as I should, and I don't cover it in the winter, and it's a little rusty inside. But what are you gonna do? That's life. So that's my apologies for my crappy ass grill. As you can see, the fire is nice and lit. That there on the back is a head of roasted garlic, or a head of garlic that I'm going to roast. So we're gonna go ahead and slap the meat on the grill. And then we're gonna close that for just a bit. Turn that while we're here. And then we're gonna leave this rest, or leave this for about, I don't know, 3.5, 4 more minutes. This happens to be one of my very favorite grilled meals, not only because you can prepare it the day before and then it's just freaking delicious the next day, but it's a good use of a cheaper cut of meat. I have made this for when I've catered weddings in the past, and it's always been a big hit. So I highly recommend when I post this recipe that you try it at least once this summer. You will love it. Now that it's getting close to the time that the meat should be done, I'm just going to turn the grill off and then let it sit for a couple minutes. So the heat of the grill keeps cooking it, but then also the carryover cooking can catch it up, and it should be done at that point. There we have the marinated grilled flank steak. And so then you just find the grain and cut across it. That's not right. and that is, looks like it is perfectly done. So I'm gonna finish cutting this and plate it and let you see what it looks like with its side. And there we have marinated flank steak with chimichurri sauce and a Brussels sprouts casserole. Chimichurri sauce is an uncooked sauce that is commonly used. This is my oregano. I don't know how much this is gonna be, but I'm probably just gonna use the whole plant. And that's what I would suggest you do if you have a little bit of a plant like this. Obviously, it's easier to just buy a whole bunch of oregano in the store. I like to have it on the porch and use it as I need it. Very few recipes actually call for a whole oregano plant, so